In the heart of affluent Beverly Hills, where palm trees sway gently under the Californian sun and luxury cars glide along pristine streets, lived Jonathan Carlyle. A successful venture capitalist in his early 40s, Jonathan had built an empire from scratch. Through sheer grit and a keen eye for opportunity, he turned tech startups into gold mines, earning a reputation as both a savvy investor and a ruthless businessman. Despite his financial success, Jonathan's life felt hollow. His sprawling mansion, adorned with marble floors and modern art pieces, echoed his loneliness. He often hosted lavish parties filled with laughter and glamour, yet he remained an island amid the revelry. Friends were few and genuine connections even rarer. He found himself yearning for meaningful relationships but remained trapped in a world defined by wealth and status. His daily routine revolved around board meetings and high-stakes negotiations that kept him tethered to his work. Weekdays blurred together in a whirlwind of business calls and strategy sessions. Weekends offered little reprieve. Golf outings with colleagues or charity galas filled the calendar but left him feeling empty once the crowds dispersed. To manage his household, Jonathan employed Maria, a Filipina maid whose gentle demeanor contrasted sharply with the opulence surrounding her. She arrived each morning before dawn to keep the house tidy while he busied himself with work. Her quiet presence provided a semblance of companionship, yet he seldom took notice of her beyond the realm of her duties. One fateful night, as Jonathan returned home late from yet another function, he noticed light spilling from the study, a flickering glow that piqued his curiosity. Approaching cautiously, he found Maria hunched over a stack of books illuminated by a single lamp. It was an unusual sight that stirred something within him. Her dedication was palpable even in that dim light. As he stood there observing her deep concentration, Jonathan felt an unexpected tug at his conscience, a reminder of dreams long abandoned in pursuit of profit, and wondered what secrets lay behind her tireless efforts. Maria arrived in Beverly Hills on a sunny morning, a small suitcase in hand and a heart full of hope. Having grown up in a close-knit village in the Philippines, she left her family behind, driven by the desire to provide them with a better life. The opportunity to work for a wealthy American felt like a dream come true, albeit tinged with apprehension. She wanted to support her younger siblings' education and contribute to her family's needs back home. Her first day at Jonathan's mansion contrasted starkly with her modest upbringing. Streams of light lit up the high ceilings, and every room cried out for admiration through its ornate decor. Maria stepped into this new world amid feels of awe and intimidation. With her cheerful demeanor and strong work ethic, she quickly endeared herself to the household staff, but Jonathan often overlooked her presence, lost in his own world. Jonathan viewed her primarily as an efficient maid responsible for keeping his home immaculate. Their interactions rarely ventured beyond business-like exchanges. He'd assign her tasks with little acknowledgement of her as an individual. Yet Maria didn't mind. She took pride in completing each job with attention and care, relishing the quiet satisfaction that came from her hard work. Her gentle smile and incredibly organized manner brought a semblance of warmth to the otherwise sterile environment Jonathan inhabited. In the following weeks, Maria adapted to the routines of the opulent mansion, rising before dawn to prepare everything before his busy day began. Despite feeling like an invisible cog in Jonathan's machine of luxury, her determination surged. She was more than just an employee, she aspired for something grander. In moments when Jonathan would pass by without a word, she would remind herself that each day represented a step toward achieving her goals. The dynamics of their relationship were dictated by unspoken boundaries, but as Maria settled into her role amidst Jonathan's lavish lifestyle, both began unknowingly inching closer toward a pivotal transformation that would alter their paths forever, one born out of understanding and ambition hidden beneath layers of circumstance. As the clock struck midnight, Jonathan returned home from yet another endless business meeting, weary but restless. The grand hallway of his mansion was dimly lit, and the soft sound of his footsteps echoed in the vastness. He expected the usual silence, the stillness that enveloped his lavish home at night, but as he passed by the study, a flickering light piqued his curiosity. Peering through the slightly ajar door, he was taken aback to find Maria seated at the desk, illuminated by a solitary lamp. Piles of books and scattered papers surrounded her, remnants of an intense study session that contrasted sharply with the pristine order of the rest of the house. She was engrossed in her work, brow furrowed in concentration as she jotted down notes. The sight tugged at a corner of his heart, stirring emotions he had long neglected. Jonathan hesitated for a moment, unsure whether to interrupt her focus. He had rarely seen this side of Maria, the diligent student driven by an unseen fire. The late-night hour highlighted her dedication and resolve, qualities he had only glimpsed in passing during their brief exchanges over household chores. In that fragile moment, something shifted within him. He felt compelled to understand more about this quiet woman who had become a fixture in his life. Clearing his throat gently to make his presence known, he stepped inside. Maria, his voice broke the serenity like a stone thrown into a still pond. Startled, she quickly looked up, her eyes wide with surprise. Mr. Carlyle, I didn't realize you were home, she stammered, scrambling to hide her notes with an instinctive modesty. Why are you up so late? He asked, unable to mask his curiosity. What are you studying? Her cheeks flushed slightly as she hesitated before responding. I am working on improving my English and taking online courses to help my family. The earnestness in her voice struck him profoundly. As Jonathan absorbed her words, questions flooded his mind. What drove Maria to sacrifice her sleep for education? What dreams lay beyond her role as his maid? In that moment, a flicker of understanding sparked between them, a shared desire for fulfillment hidden beneath their disparate lives. As Jonathan stepped further into the study, he took a moment to absorb the scene before him. Maria, her hair tied back in a loose bun, was immersed in an online course that flickered on her laptop screen. The glow illuminated her focused expression as she listened intently, earbuds nestled in her ears. He noticed the titles of several textbooks scattered across the desk: Business Communication, English Grammar Essentials, and Introduction to Accounting. Each book represented a piece of her ambition, a roadmap toward a future she desperately wanted to build. What are you studying? He asked again, his curiosity piqued beyond mere politeness. She hesitated, then responded with a shy smile. I'm taking an online course on business management and improving my English. I want to start my own small business back home one day. Jonathan's heart quickened at her words. He had expected something more mundane. Instead, he was met with a vision filled with potential and grit. Here was Maria, not just a maid, but an aspiring entrepreneur determined to transcend the confines of her current life. Maria explained how she spent evenings studying after finishing her chores, exhausted yet exhilarated by the chance to learn and grow. She spoke with passion about her dreams of opening a small cafe or bakery in her village, where she could create jobs for others and support local farmers by sourcing ingredients from their lands. I know it's a long road ahead, she added softly, but every bit of knowledge helps me get closer to my goal. I want my siblings to have opportunities I didn't have. As she spoke, Jonathan felt an unfamiliar sense of admiration swell within him. Her determination shone brightly against the backdrop of his own complacency. In that moment, he realized that Maria's late-night studies weren't just about personal improvement. They were fueled by love and responsibility, a power that could inspire change not only in her life, but also in his perspective on what truly mattered. Jonathan found himself captivated by her vision, suddenly eager to understand more about this remarkable woman who dared to dream amid adversity. After their initial exchange, Jonathan felt an unusual urge to delve deeper into Maria's aspirations, sensing a vulnerability in her that was often masked by the roles they played. He invited her to sit at the small table in the study, the warm glow of the lamp casting soft shadows around them. Tell me more about your dream of opening a business, he encouraged, leaning forward with genuine interest. Maria hesitated for a moment, her eyes reflecting the flickering light as she considered sharing more of herself. Well, she began slowly, I've always loved baking. My grandmother taught me traditional recipes when I was a child. I want to use those recipes and create something special in my village, a cafe that not only serves coffee and pastries but also brings the community together. A place where people can gather, share stories, and support each other. Her passion ignited as she spoke, her words flowed like a stream filled with vision and hope. Jonathan found himself captivated by the imagery she painted, a quaint cafe bustling with laughter and life rooted in community and tradition. And what's stopping you? He asked, genuinely curious. Maria's smile faded slightly. Money is tight and I don't have the necessary skills or connections yet. Starting a business feels so far away, sometimes I wonder if it's just a foolish dream. Her voice quivered with uncertainty. Jonathan, struck by her honesty, realized how their worlds had been so divided by circumstances and expectations. You know, he said thoughtfully, I once had dreams of my own before I got caught up in this whirlwind of business deals and investment strategies. I lost sight of what truly mattered. This moment of shared vulnerability broke down invisible barriers between them. For the first time, Jonathan saw Maria not merely through the lens of status, but as an equal, a fellow dreamer navigating life's challenges. Maybe we could figure out a way to help you, he suggested tentatively. I know people who could offer guidance or mentorship. Maria's eyes widened in disbelief mixed with hope. Really, you would do that for me? Of course, he replied with newfound conviction. In that small study illuminated by a single lamp, two disparate lives began to intertwine. Two souls driven by dreams and aspirations were taking their first steps toward a shared understanding that transcended their roles. As Maria sat across from Jonathan, the warmth of the study felt more like a safe haven than just a room in his mansion. With a deep breath, she began to share her story, revealing the layers of sacrifices woven into her pursuit of education and dreams. I left home when I was just 18, she explained, her voice soft yet steady. In my village, opportunities are scarce, My parents struggled to make ends meet, and I knew that if I wanted a better future for my family, I had to find work abroad. Jonathan listened intently as she recounted the emotional farewell to her family. Tears glistened in her eyes as she described how she promised them that this was just the beginning, that she would send money home for her siblings' education and return with skills that could uplift them all. Every month I send my earnings back home, Maria said, pride mingling with sadness in her tone. It's not much, but it helps pay for my siblings' school fees and food. Sometimes I wonder if they understand how hard this is for me. Jonathan nodded, feeling the weight of her words. He could see now that behind Maria's cheerful demeanor lay an extraordinary resilience forged through hardship. She continued, after long days of cleaning and cooking here, I stay up late studying because I want to be someone they can look up to, a role model who breaks the cycle of poverty. Her determination stirred something within Jonathan, a realization of how deeply intertwined dreams and sacrifices are. He learned how difficult it was for her to balance work with education while living in a foreign land where every moment felt like a test of endurance. I often feel tired, she admitted with a slight smile, but every time I think about my family and what they've sacrificed for me, it gives me strength. In that moment, Jonathan understood that Maria wasn't merely pursuing knowledge. She was building a bridge to a better future, not just for herself but for those she loved most. Inspired by her courage and commitment, he felt compelled to help her realize that dream even more fervently than before. As Maria's words lingered in the air, Jonathan found himself grappling with a tumult of emotions. He leaned back in his chair, staring at the glowing laptop screen that had illuminated their conversation. Here was a woman who had sacrificed so much to chase her dreams, yet he had spent years accumulating wealth and status while feeling increasingly unfulfilled. The questions began to gnaw at him. What was the true purpose of his success? Had he lost sight of what truly mattered? Jonathan reflected on his own life choices, recalling the early days when he had ventured into the business world filled with passion and ideals. He had dreamed of making a difference, of creating opportunities for others through innovation and entrepreneurship. Yet somewhere along the line, those dreams had been overshadowed by the relentless pursuit of profit and prestige. The lavish parties, expensive cars, and high-profile clients now felt like hollow victories. In stark contrast, Maria's aspirations were rooted in love and responsibility. She wasn't merely chasing success for herself. She was driven by a commitment to uplift her family and community. Her late-night studies were not just about personal advancement, they symbolized hope, a hope she worked tirelessly to nurture despite overwhelming odds. A wave of guilt washed over Jonathan as he considered how often he had turned a blind eye to the struggles of those around him. He had surrounded himself with people who valued wealth above all else, yet here sat Maria embodying a spirit of resilience and purpose that was missing from his own life. Why do we measure success solely by wealth? He mused aloud, an uncharacteristic vulnerability threading through his voice. Have I lost touch with what makes life meaningful? Maria looked up, her eyes reflecting understanding as if she sensed his internal turmoil. Her journey illuminated his path in ways he hadn't anticipated. The walls built by social status began to crumble as he recognized an essential truth, that true fulfillment came from connection, forming bonds with others based on shared dreams and genuine support. In that moment of clarity, Jonathan resolved to redefine his own purpose, inspired by Maria's unwavering determination. Perhaps it was time to invest not just in financial ventures, but also in the lives and dreams of those who crossed his path, starting with the remarkable woman sitting before him. Over the following weeks, Jonathan and Maria's relationship continued to evolve, deepening into a genuine friendship built on mutual respect and understanding. Their interactions shifted from formal exchanges about chores to meaningful conversations that bridged their disparate worlds. Jonathan made it a point to check in on Maria more often, asking about her studies and even sharing his own experiences in business. He found joy in discussing ideas with her, fascinated by her insights and the fresh perspective she brought to problems he had long taken for granted. Maria, in turn, appreciated his newfound interest in her life and aspirations. Each time she spoke of her dreams, Jonathan listened intently, often offering encouragement or suggesting resources that could aid her journey. One afternoon, as they worked side by side in the kitchen, Jonathan preparing dinner while Maria helped chop vegetables, they slipped into an easy banter. The air was filled with laughter as they exchanged jokes, breaking down any remaining barriers that had once defined their employer-employee dynamic. In that moment, the grand mansion felt less like a symbol of wealth and more like a shared space where two people could connect on a human level. Maria began to confide in Jonathan about her fears and challenges, revealing moments of self-doubt that crept in when she faced obstacles in her studies. Instead of simply providing advice, Jonathan shared his own struggles, how he too had faced setbacks and moments of doubt during his rise in the business world. This vulnerability opened new doors between them. They were no longer just employer and employee, but allies navigating their respective journeys. In return for his support, Maria invited Jonathan into her world through her cooking. One evening, she surprised him with a traditional Filipino meal, explaining the significance of each dish as they dined together. Jonathan was enchanted not only by the flavors but also by the stories woven into every recipe, a tapestry of her culture that he had never truly understood before. Their friendship flourished as they celebrated small victories together. Maria aced a test in her course, while Jonathan successfully closed an important deal at work. Each achievement became a reason for shared joy, reinforcing their bond and fostering a profound sense of camaraderie that neither had anticipated. As they continued to learn from one another, both began to see life through a richer lens, one marked by empathy, collaboration, and the recognition that true wealth lay not just in financial success, but in the connections we nurture along the way. As their friendship deepened, Jonathan and Maria began collaborating on tasks that not only strengthened their bond but also enhanced their individual skills. Jonathan offered to help Maria with her English, recognizing the importance of effective communication for her ambitions. They set aside time after dinner a few times a week, turning the dining table into a makeshift classroom filled with notebooks, flashcards, and laughter. "Let's practice some phrases you might use in your cafe," he suggested one evening, jotting down vocabulary on a whiteboard. Maria brightened at the idea, excited to imagine serving customers with confidence. As they practiced together, she often stumbled over complex sentence structures, while Jonathan patiently encouraged her to keep trying. "Don't worry, we'll get it right together," he would say with a reassuring smile. Their laughter echoed through the house as they stumbled through pronunciation and grammar, each mistake becoming a stepping stone toward improvement. In return for his help, Maria began sharing her rich cultural heritage with Jonathan. She introduced him to Filipino traditions, teaching him about important holidays like fiesta, when families come together to celebrate with feasts and festivities. One evening, she shared the story behind Noche Buena, the Christmas Eve celebration that emphasized family unity and gratitude. "Every dish has a meaning," Maria explained as they prepared traditional foods in the kitchen. "Like lumpia, these spring rolls symbolize wealth and prosperity." Jonathan listened intently, eager to absorb each tale and new culinary technique. The flavors of garlic, soy sauce, and savory meats filled the air, mixing with the warmth of their interactions as they cooked side by side. As they worked together, Jonathan correcting her English phrases while Maria taught him the intricacies of her culture, they began to overcome not just personal obstacles but also the walls built by their differing backgrounds. Each shared moment transformed into a celebration of their unique identities, creating a space where both felt valued and understood. With every practice session, Jonathan noticed Maria's growing confidence not only in language but also in herself. Likewise, as he engaged with her culture, he found renewed enthusiasm for human connections that had long been dormant within him. Their partnership became a tapestry woven with threads of collaboration, respect, and shared growth, a living testament to the strength that emerges when two individuals work together towards their dreams. One evening, as they wrapped up a session of cooking traditional Filipino dishes, Maria received an unexpected phone call that shattered the light-hearted atmosphere. She answered the call, her face quickly turning somber as quiet words filled her ears. Jonathan watched with concern etched on his face, contemplating whether their laughter had just been silenced by something more serious. After ending the call, Maria let out a shaky breath and drew her hands to her chest as if trying to hold back rising emotions. "It's my mother," she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. "She's been taken to the hospital back home. They think it might be serious." Jonathan felt a weight settle over the room, sensing that this news was not just about illness. It was an existential crisis for Maria and her family. He could see that she fought against tears, wishing to maintain composure but grappling with a sense of helplessness. "What can I do?" he asked sincerely, his instinct to support surfacing yet again. "Is there someone you need to speak with? Can you get there?" Maria shook her head slowly but decisively. "I can't just leave like that. I have bills to pay here, plus my siblings rely on me." The stress of her dual responsibilities loomed large. The zeal that once fueled her desire for success now felt heavy with the burden of financial strain. As days passed, Jonathan noticed the energy shift in their interactions. The excitement in Maria's eyes dimmed under the weight of anxiety and fear about her mother's health and how it would affect their family back in the Philippines. She grew distant, preoccupied with phone calls and messages relaying updates from home. The crisis challenged their blossoming friendship, as Jonathan wrestled with his desire to help but felt powerless against circumstances he couldn't control. His heart ached for Maria. He understood what losing someone dear meant after feeling a sense of loss himself within his world of wealth and superficiality. Grappling with his own emotions while witnessing Maria's struggles sparked a realization in him that true friendship required standing by one another even in darker times. Faced with this challenge, they would need to lean into their bond more than ever before as they navigated through uncertainty together. Jonathan knew then that he had to step up, not merely as an employer or a friend, but as someone committed to supporting Maria in every way possible during this daunting time. As the days passed following the news of Maria's mother, Jonathan felt an urgency to offer tangible support, understanding that mere words weren't enough amidst the gravity of her situation. He began by ensuring that Maria had the time and space she needed to take care of her family without the pressure of her work obligations weighing heavily on her. "Why don't you take a few days off?" he suggested one afternoon, concern etched on his face. "You shouldn't have to worry about your job right now." Maria shook her head instinctively, her strong work ethic taking over. "I can't do that, Mr. Carlyle. I need the money and everything is falling on me." Jonathan thought for a moment, then offered, "How about this? I'll cover your wages for the next few weeks. You focus on your family, and when you're ready, we can pick up where we left off." The weight of his words hung in the air as Maria processed what he was offering. "Are you sure?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly with gratitude. She hadn't anticipated such generosity from him, yet his sincerity reassured her that he truly meant it. "Yes," Jonathan replied firmly. "You need to be there for your family, it's important." At that moment, Maria felt a warmth blossom in her heart, a feeling of being genuinely cared for that transcended their previous employer-employee boundaries. With tearful eyes, she thanked him, her relief palpable. Jonathan didn't stop there. He wanted to make sure she wouldn't face financial stress while supporting her family. He arranged for food deliveries to her home, providing meals for her siblings and ensuring they were cared for while she attended to her mother's health. He also encouraged Maria to speak candidly about anything else she needed. This open line of communication allowed them to navigate the emotional turmoil together. Jonathan learned more about Filipino customs surrounding illness and community support, while Maria appreciated Jonathan's willingness to step outside of his comfort zone. As she shared stories of how her community rallied around those in need during tough times, he realized how essential it was for us all to connect deeply in moments of crisis. Their connection deepened further as they supported each other through this challenging time. Jonathan felt enriched by Maria's resilience while strengthening his commitment to stand by her side as a true friend. This turning point solidified the transformation he had undergone, from a man consumed by wealth and status to someone who now valued the richness of compassion and connection in forging meaningful relationships. The bond between Jonathan and Maria significantly influences both their lives, bringing forth profound changes that extend beyond their individual circumstances. Through their friendship, Jonathan develops a newly awakened sense of empathy, understanding the struggles faced by those from different walks of life. As he supports Maria through her family crisis, he learns to appreciate the weight of responsibility she bears, not only for her own ambitions but also for her family back in the Philippines. Maria, on the other hand, finds strength in Jonathan's kindness and support. His willingness to step outside the confines of his privilege allows her to see that compassion transcends socioeconomic barriers. The meals he arranged for her family and the financial support he provided give her much-needed reprieve, empowering her to focus on studying for her future cafe without the constant backdrop of financial stress. Together, they navigate cultural differences that once seemed insurmountable. For Jonathan, Maria becomes more than just an employee. She is a source of inspiration who exposes him to the richness of Filipino culture, its traditions, values, and communal spirit. The stories she shares inspire him to embrace a more meaningful existence grounded in community rather than isolation. As they celebrate each other's small victories, Maria excelling in her studies and Jonathan finding fulfillment in acts of kindness, they create a shared narrative filled with purpose. This narrative reshapes Jonathan's understanding of success, helping him to redefine wealth not merely in monetary terms, but as a measure of human connection and shared experiences. Maria's confidence grows as she absorbs Jonathan's unwavering belief in her potential. She learns that friendship can bridge gaps between cultures and backgrounds, fostering a mutual understanding that encourages personal growth. The respect they cultivate for one another deepens their connection, illustrating how powerful such bonds can be in dismantling stereotypes and enriching lives. This transformation opens their hearts to new perspectives, with each act of kindness reinforcing their bond. They emerge from their respective challenges not just as better friends but as more aware individuals, each enriched by the other's experiences. Their relationship serves as a poignant reminder that true empathy comes from understanding one another's journeys and supporting each other through life's trials. Through their friendship, both Jonathan and Maria discover that the beauty of life lies in its shared moments and connections that defy boundaries. As the months passed, the hard work and dedication that Maria poured into her studies began to bear fruit. With Jonathan's unwavering support, she completed her online business management course, and the day of her graduation arrived with mixed emotions, joy mingled with a hint of nostalgia. Dressed in a simple yet elegant outfit, Maria felt a sense of accomplishment envelop her, one she had long strived for amid countless challenges. Jonathan, who had taken on the role of a mentor and friend, stood proudly by her side. He had become not just a benefactor but an advocate for her dreams. As they celebrated with a small gathering of friends comprising both her fellow students and Jonathan's colleagues, Maria felt empowered, buoyed by their encouragement. The room buzzed with admiration as she spoke about her future plans to open the cafe that had once seemed so distant, now feeling tantalizingly within reach. Meanwhile, Jonathan experienced a renewal of purpose through mentoring Maria. Watching her grow fueled his own passion for supporting emerging entrepreneurs. He began organizing workshops at his firm that focused on nurturing small business owners from diverse backgrounds, aiming to provide them with the knowledge and resources he once wished he had when starting out. The joy of sharing insights with others reignited his sense of fulfillment in ways that financial success never could. Their journeys intertwined beautifully as they continued to share their experiences. Maria frequently sought Jonathan's advice on setting up her business plan, while he encouraged her to tap into her unique cultural heritage when designing the cafe's concept. Together, they brainstormed ideas that merged traditional Filipino flavors with contemporary trends, a fusion that encapsulated her identity. One day, while discussing marketing strategies over coffee at a local cafe, Maria turned to Jonathan and said, "I couldn't have done this without you." Her gratitude resonated deeply within him. Their bond had transformed into something far greater than either had anticipated, a partnership grounded in shared aspirations and mutual respect that had helped them both achieve personal milestones. As Maria prepared to launch her cafe, Jonathan felt invigorated by this new chapter in both their lives. It was no longer just about professional achievements, it was about forging connections that enriched their souls. Together, they demonstrated how embracing each other's journeys could lead to extraordinary growth, affirming that personal goals are best achieved when supported by genuine relationships filled with love and understanding. As Maria prepared to launch her cafe, a new chapter in both her life and Jonathan's began to unfold. The culmination of their shared efforts was more than just the opening of a business. It represented the transformative power of connection and the potential for future endeavors they could undertake together. Jonathan watched with pride as Maria meticulously arranged her cafe, infusing it with elements of her culture, bright colors, traditional Filipino artwork, and a menu bursting with flavors that told stories of home. On opening day, the cafe buzzed with excitement as friends, family, and even some of Jonathan's colleagues gathered to celebrate. Maria beamed with pride as she welcomed guests, her confidence radiating from within. Jonathan stood at the back of the room, feeling a sense of fulfillment he had never experienced before. This venture was no longer just about business, it was a testament to what they had achieved together. "I couldn't have done this without you," Maria said later that evening as they took a moment away from the bustling crowd. Her voice carried both gratitude and admiration. Jonathan smiled, realizing that mentoring Maria had not only helped her reach her goals but had also enriched his own life in ways he hadn't anticipated. He found himself thinking about how he could continue to share his knowledge and resources with others like Maria, amplifying his impact on aspiring entrepreneurs. With their dreams aligned, they began brainstorming ideas for workshops using Maria's Cafe as a hub for community engagement, a place not only for coffee and pastries but also for knowledge sharing and empowerment. Together, they envisioned inviting other small business owners to share their experiences, creating an atmosphere where learning flourished alongside culinary delights. As the weeks turned into months, their bond solidified further. Jonathan frequently visited the cafe not just as a supporter but as an active participant in its growth. He would help organize local events and offer mentorship sessions, fostering a spirit of collaboration among budding entrepreneurs in their community. Through this journey, each character emerged transformed. Maria by successfully launching her dream and Jonathan by embracing his role as a mentor and friend. Their relationship became an enduring reminder that achieving personal goals is often intertwined with uplifting others, a cycle of support that creates ripples of positive change. As they stepped into this new chapter together, it was clear that their story was far from over. It had merely evolved into one filled with potential, one where each milestone would pave the way for collective progress and deeper connections that transcended barriers.